The first time I had shrooms, I didn't have sex. And I kind of feel like I missed out on the opportunity, not gonna hold you. I felt so happy in the moment. And I've had like edibles and I've had ecstasy and Molly before. And y'all know I still currently smoke a lot of weed. But the shroom high was such a joy. Like, it did not compare to anything I'd ever experienced before. Like, it made me, when I explained to people how I felt in the moment, it just made me want to go outside and skip. Like, I just want to go outside and skip down the street for no apparent reason. Like, just on some, you ever seen like a cartoon, they're like skipping? Why the hell are you skipping? Like, there's no point behind the skip, just outside of the fact that they're elated. They're experiencing extreme joy. And that's how I felt the first time I had shrooms. Now, the second time I had shrooms, I did have sex, and oh my fucking God, was that amazing. And I think it was because everything just felt so good. Like, everyone was pretty and I was pretty and I wanted to touch on people and I wanted to be touched, and I just wanted all of my senses to be sensing. And so I am someone that really enjoys shroom sex in particular. I like having sex high, because when you're high and you're in an elevated state, your senses, like, I don't know, you smell different, you taste different, you feel different, you talk different. I know I talk different. I think all my words are slower and I typically talk fast. So that is what we're going to get into in today's episode. And I already told y'all my opinion of shroom sex. I like that shit. And so this will not be an episode where we tell you don't do that shit, because I'm going to tell you try that shit if you're into it, right? I'm not telling you all, if you're someone like, but I don't want to do shrooms. Okay, cool, that's fine. But to the ones that are curious, I'm telling you, try it. Welcome to Her Nut Matters, the podcast that dives headfirst into all things sex, pleasure, and empowerment. I'm Jody, your unapologetic guide to a more liberated sex life. Here we break down taboos, celebrate sexuality, and explore what it means to truly own your pleasure. So whether you're curious, kink-friendly, or just looking for ways to spice things up, you're in the right place. Now let's get to it. And of course we'll get into like some parameters and maybe some things that you might want to be mindful of, because we do want you to make informed and educated decisions about your sex life, especially when you begin to incorporate different things. Like, it's no different than if you were to have sex under the influence of alcohol or anything else, right? You still have to do it responsibly. And so yeah, welcome back to another episode. I am happy that you guys are back, and I'm going to give my guests for today an opportunity to introduce themselves. So go ahead.
Hey, my name is Danielle Mitchell. I'm here on behalf of...
just tell them about like your business.
Okay.
So
so I guess we're here on behalf of Mooonchild Infusions. We got a couple businesses, but Mooonchild Infusions is the business we're here today talking about. Integration specialist, coach, you would say, psychedelic integration coaching specialist. And I have this business with my husband.
Cool. I'm the other half of Mooonchild. I mainly focus on the integrational side of cultivational side of integration. I like to take mushrooms randomly, just kind of. I do a lot of testing.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time with the mushrooms. Like I said, just playing around with genetics and doing agar plays. So yeah, I'm kind of the mad scientist of the group.
Nice.
Danielle takes more of she takes care of the kind of like holistic side of it.
Mm-hmm.
The sound bowls, the yoga,
Mm-hmm.
trip sitting, that kind of stuff. I'm fairly versed in those things, but again, I think we found a good balance.
Nice.
Between I participate kind of when I need to on that side. So And then I look to try to incorporate mushrooms into culinary arts. Even though that's a little oxymoronic because most people aren't hungry when they're peaking. So just trying to find the
food is the last thing I'm thinking
It's the
about
last
when
thing.
I'm off shrooms.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna eat, it won't be
Gonna be
food.
at the end.
I'm gonna be
Yeah,
eating
no.
dick.
Yeah, that's how I know when I'm actually coming down is when I get hungry again. It's like, oh, okay, food is
How long have you guys been doing this?
We were just discussing that the other day.
okay. Well, this us or this mushrooms?
Right, which one?
Both, kind of.
Is there a tie-in? Like, because you guys, you do this together.
We do this together.
Yeah.
You built this business together,
We did.
assuming.
We did.
So,
Yeah, no. So it's been 7 years. We've
Okay.
been together 7. We've been into psychedelic integration for, I would say, about 4 of them professionally.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we've gone through a lot. We've definitely went through the
storm a little bit.
the storm.
Yeah. So what inspired you to start with psychedelics? And then what inspired you to like, all right, cool, like, okay, we're doing this, let's make this a business. And then like you said, you're doing more of like the sound, because I feel like there's a certain type of person that engages in certain things, right?
Absolutely.
And so typically there is some sort of correlation between like someone that is into yoga and sound healing and chakras and psychedelics.
Yes,
Like there is a correlation for
Yeah,
sure.
big
So
correlation.
where did that start? What's the origin story?
I mean, personal journey a little bit for both of us. For me, trauma and trauma happened. And then in my personal journey, while we were together, just trying to figure out what makes sense.
You want to take a chronological order here? Because technically, my trauma brought me to mushrooms.
Right, you were
Then
first.
she was kind of going through something when we reconnected, and we kind of got into yoga and things like that.
Like
and
mindfulness
and
activities.
I just felt that we had gotten to a point in our mindfulness practices that maybe this would help. The first time I did mushrooms, I was homeless in California. Maybe like the year after I got discharged from the Navy, and my first mushroom experience wasn't sexual at all. It actually drug me through the mud a lot. There was a lot of baggage and accountability that I had to kind of take first. And then from there, it seemed like I was kind of in alignment with who I was. Things went very well for a while. Came back home, got into mushrooms again, right before I met Danielle. And had another great experience. Hadn't delved into the sexual side of things yet because, I don't know. I get very introspective on mushrooms. Not until me and Danielle started doing mushrooms together, though, was there like a desire to actually share that space. It was. You were going through a lot at that time.
I was going through a lot when we reconnected, and I was just very angry too. And one day we were just kind of talking. He was like, "Look, you're gonna be at home by yourself. Like, just kind of try a little bit. Try a microdose." I weighed out how much I had, and I wasn't expecting anything, but little things started to happen, and it kind of brought about this, like curious nature. Like, oh, how far can we go with this? How deep can we go? So yeah, we definitely decided to share in our experience together, which, as we're partners, led to us doing it with sex together, which. Fucking phenomenal. So because you enter a bubble, right? Once you kind of having that experience, and then you can share that with somebody who you sharing a lot with. And I was kind of sad kind of regularly, but I think mushrooms really helped me just be okay with that, but still progress through, because we end up having a daughter together, right? So going through my pregnancy and mindfully not know, wanting to not have my daughter kind of be seething in my depression and things like that or whatever. Like, I didn't want that to be the space after she was here either.
Right.
So it was an active journey of like, intentional, like trying to progress through what all was happening. And then of course life was happening as well. Like I'm a new mom. We had newly moved in together, so we still learning each other. I was working in corporate, and Royce has been an entrepreneur for a while, but you were like in and out of.
I prefer successfully unemployed.
There we go. You like that one too. So yeah, the business part I think came about because
I was working at Akira at the time. I think this was during COVID, and Phoenix got sick, and I needed to leave work one day, and they wouldn't let me leave work early, and I was like, look, I ain't coming in tomorrow. Right, my baby's sick. I'm gonna take her get a COVID test. I'm gonna make sure everything's straight. And they gave me some riffraff about it, and I was like, well, if you're making me choose between my job and my daughter, it's an easy decision. And I remember making the Instagram page that day because I was already kind of dabbling in the mushrooms. I was hosting dinner parties, and yeah, I feel like Mooonchild was born just out of the desire just to not kiss. Right. It was just like, this is what I like to do. I'm gonna do it. Fuck it.
Yeah. Right. We were starting to make the investments anyway, like between space and he was working with a mentor for cultivation for a little while. That relationship was doing some things. So yeah, we also ultimately we decided to just create our own space for cultivation.
Yeah. So I think it's super important when it comes to talking about whether or not someone chooses to engage or consume shrooms and its psychedelic benefits and what it does to your body and the benefits and the experiences that you can have when you are taking shrooms as it relates to just being present in your body, right? Because you guys talked a lot about mindfulness, right? Absolutely. Yeah. And so I've heard a lot about bad trips. I've been fortunate enough to never have had a bad trip, like not once. And I think it's because when I did, so two different things. First time I had shrooms, didn't take them. Okay. Well, I bought them, did not take them. Okay. I'm glad I did not take them. And the reason I'm glad I did not take them is because the person that I was the first time I bought shrooms was not the person that I was when I actually took shrooms years later. I was in a very toxic relationship. I was not self-aware. I know that you guys kind of did that work on yourselves under the influence of shrooms. I did that work on myself sober. Mm-hmm. And so when I did actually take shrooms, I was able to kind of bask in the joy and the feeling of like, oh my God, I feel so amazing. Absolutely. Yeah, right? Yeah. So when people talk about like, oh, well, who are the people you're surrounding yourself with when you are, you like, oh, be alone or what, like, of course you have to figure out what's going to make sense for, the experience that you want to have. But me, when I got shrooms and then I was like, yo, actually afraid to take these shrooms at this moment because of the people that I'm around. So once I changed that whole kind of like the people I surrounded myself with, and then I finally took shrooms years later, and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like, I love this shit.
You low-key did yourself the best thing. Seriously.
For sure.
I mean, that kind of leads into the safety conversation because
well, we don't have to get to the safety conversation yet because I definitely like I want us to start like, all right, cool, like this is that has to take place. Like whether you do it under shroom, like if you know that you are not in the right mental, emotional space, because one thing, whether you take shrooms or not, so without, so within, right? So if your outer reality is chaotic, your inner reality it's a great chance that it's chaotic as well. And what is shrooms gonna do? It's gonna amplify that shit. Yeah. It's gonna force you to see that shit. And so I think that, of course, we'll get into the safety part, because
the only reason why I said that is because one of the main things that we got 4 things we kind of go on, and one of them is set, which is the mindset, like your emotional setting, your set and setting, they go together. Physical setting, who you have around you, who's your battle buddy if you are doing it alone, depending on how much you take and what your day is like, when you started off. If you planned it on the 20th of the month, there's a couple things I would do, right, in preparation for that. But one thing is, yes, your actual setting and making sure that physically those around you and even the space around you is at your most optimum, like whatever you desire it to be.
Right. Sure. Because I've heard that as well. Like, again, whatever you feel will be amplified, right? That's so true. The fact that every time I've taken shrooms, I've been happy. Like, every single I've been able to see the joy in every little thing. Like, I feel like a damn 2-year-old that's amazed at everything that I'm saying. I'm like, oh my God, look at the lights. Oh my God, look at this. This smells good. This feels good. Like, and I love that for me because, again, I'm someone who, even sober, I like for my senses to be engaged. So I can truly appreciate the smallest and the simplest of things. And I think, experience. I think that's important because oftentimes things can get lost in the routine of things. And I do also want to talk about how, like, so this is kind of getting into the idea of how psychedelics can enhance what you feel from an intimacy perspective, from connecting with your partner, because of course this show's all about sex, so we're going to get into that. We're not sitting here talking about mushrooms and how to create a successful business model. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to talk about how to improve your sex life and find pleasure in the little things, right? And absolutely. I think for me, being on shrooms, even if I'm having like oftentimes we take things for granted, right? Especially when it comes to our physical body. And I can't, like, if I take shrooms, I'm gonna appreciate every fucking thing, right? So in you guys' experience, how has psychedelics been able to improve intimacy and connection for you?
I think it makes us more present. In a weird kind of way. It puts you in your head, but it also gets you out of your head. Yes. It in the right setting, right, with the right intention. I think from an intimacy standpoint, I think it allows me to not be self-conscious about what it is that I like, what it is I want to do, being open and honest about that. It kind of, it lets you stop bullshitting with yourself, right, about what it really is. And I think when you have a partner that's also open and receptive to that and, in that same space, it's a very, very powerful space to be in, to just feel free, right? And I think sexually, even though we're in a very saturated, sex is everywhere, right? But I think there's a lot of people that are actually kind of repressed. There's things, there's shit that they like, right, that they'll never tell anyone. They'll never try it, right? And they really have shitty relationships because, whatever, we're not gonna get into that. But you get what I'm saying? Like when people lie to themselves on a regular basis, I think when you actually do take mushrooms and you have that experience and you're able to actually unfuck yourself and be like, you know what, I think this is what I actually like, right? And the mushrooms almost put you like due north, where it's like, well, you said this is what you wanted. Go for it. This what you want? Do it. All right, cool. Yeah. Right? And it points you in that direction. And I think a lot of people sometimes they will voluntarily get off the ride. It's a little scary, leaning into who you are, as opposed to who the world has told you to be, and letting go of the fear of being judged. Yeah. For participating in whatever it is that makes you feel like you. I think
that's what I was going to just add. Like the vulnerability that you feel within your own intimacy is very much so exposed and like out in the open, but within your own being, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I think you have to be okay with that vulnerability. Yeah.
But yes,
I was just saying, like, being okay with that vulnerability. Within your intimacy, like literally that thing that you've been tinkering with in the back of your mind that you may only do by yourself, or like you may want to introduce, like you said, start with your partner, but like having that conversation may be a little weird. Like,
I definitely
create that beautiful space.
I definitely think that a lot of people are not free. Right, they're not sexually free. They have a lot of limiting beliefs around sex, and a lot of them were imposed way before they even knew what sex was. Right, so their views of sex were imposed on them by their parents and their peers and religious figures and, you know, like all of the other historical and social constructs that tell us how we are supposed to have sex, which makes sex this small little box of this is what it is, and everything outside of that is weird and freaky and that Diddy shit. Don't do it. Right? But what we know is that that's not a pleasurable way to have sex. It was like, I want to have sex, but I can't do this. I can't do that. And can't do that either. And it's like, God damn it.
Like, what can I do?
Like, only A to B, like, it's boring.
Yeah, exactly. So, because there are so many people with limiting beliefs, right? Not really a lot of people feeling liberated in the way they express their sexuality. Sometimes something like a psychedelic will be the door to you you saying like, you know what? I did some wild shit off some shrooms. I think I can do some wild shit sober now. Or maybe I'm going to keep allowing myself this freedom to be who I am in this space. And I know how I want to be on shrooms. So I'm someone who, like I said, I kind of did that work on myself, and then I started having shrooms, and I'm like, oh, this shit is fire. But there might be cases where people haven't explored their trauma. What are some ways that people could use shroom to heal their trauma?
I mean, this is perfect space for just spending time with yourself. Like,
I think the psychedelic integration. I think this is the psychedelic integration part, right? Like, I think a lot of times we talk about psychedelic integration as something you do after, right? But actually doing the research to figure out what strain you want to take, right? Sourcing it, knowing where that's coming from, building a certain level of confidence before you even go in, right? Having an intention before you partake. I think there's a lot of setup that kind of happens.
Yes.
And then starting low and slow, like actually after you actually acquire it, having respect enough for the sacrament to create space for yourself, and then for you in the sacrament basically, and then take the sacrament and don't be afraid to feel nothing. I think a lot of times people take mushrooms expecting something when it's like the mushroom doesn't owe you anything. Right? If you're not in alignment, it's going to give you exactly what you need. Some people take mushrooms to get high. They don't get high. It's because you don't need to get high. The mushroom don't have that for you today. Like, it's not like weed. And I just think the best way for people to prepare themselves, no matter what their intention, is just have respect for the sacrament, know what you're taking, know how do you respond to the sacrament, right? Like, I like to say we all like to swim. You know how much water you can swim in comfortably.
I can't swim.
You shouldn't. Exactly. So that's the point, right? So
I can float though. So it's like, all right, cool. I'm comfortable. Limits. I'm comfortable with getting in a body of water that is 4 feet.
Okay.
Because I can walk comfortably, and if I need to float, I'll lean back.
So you're a little grounded, right? So you know your limit. You know 4 grams is my limit. After that, it's uncharted territory, and I might want to think twice or get resources before I take a step beyond that.
Yes.
Right? And I think sometimes people don't do the work up front to figure out where their limit is. They just jump straight in.
And then you have a bad experience, and now you're like, I'm not doing that shit no more.
Because you're not ready. That's the bad trip.
To your point.
The mushrooms bring out everything, and now you're like, the fuck? Wait. I was here to get freaky, but but now you thinking,
crying in the corner and wheezing and shit.
You thinking about all the reasons why you don't get freaky like that, and you have to actually sort through that before you can actually get. So
the other thing is the expectation part. Like, a lot of people hear things like, oh my God, this experience for this person was this and it was so great or whatever. But again, with the research, everybody's experience is different every time. Every time.
Every trip is different.
Every trip is different. Yeah. And a lot of those bad trips is, like you said, uncharted territory, but you just going in without a clear intention, not knowing how much you take, and not being aware of your surroundings. Because you expect it to be like party, but again, you take over a certain amount, and it's like, baby, you gonna see yourself regardless.
Yeah, you can take a quarter gram, and you can take a quarter gram if you're not in the right space. Yeah, it'll take you out, right? Especially if you don't. A quarter gram of Enigma is not the same as a PE, right? Like, again, understanding that all mushrooms aren't the same,
right?
And even the same mushroom is going to affect you differently depending on where you're at, what
space.
you're doing, right? Every time you go in and have a psychedelic experience, you change.
Yeah.
So technically, next time you do it, you're a new person going on your first psychedelic experience.
I'm still a freaky ass motherfucker.
I mean, that's you at your core. You know what I'm saying?
It is amplified.
You just start peeling back the layers of who you are. Like it shows you who you are, and then it says, well,
what you gonna do about it?
You can. Who do you not want to be? You know?
I will say this, like every time because I don't want y'all to think that I'm out here doing shrooms weekly. I'm not. All right, I don't have a shroom problem. All right,
it's anti-addictive. It is anti-addictive.
They are anti-addictive.
Yeah. So but you know everybody like no, it's all drugs and okay. Look, I'm letting y'all know that I actually there are very specific circumstances where I'm like, I'm doing shrooms tonight. Like it's very much like last time I had shrooms was Terry's party. I was like, yeah, we're doing shrooms tonight. It's because I know that I'm gonna be around amazing energy. I want that energy amplified, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so also every time I've had sex, I've done something like like I don't have normal sex regularly. Just like my normal sex is not really normal. Just because it's like freakier and kinkier than normal sex. So it's my normal. It's not everyone's normal.
Get that.
Okay.
But also it's like, it's always something unique about that particular time. For example, one time I did shrooms and went to a play party and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like sucking dick in front of like 20 people with a butt plug in my ass and I'm like twerking. I'm like, this is amazing. Right? That's one experience and I'm having a good time, right? This other time I'm like very, very like insatiable sexually. So I'm like, I had sex like 3 times and I was not done. And so
that's about right.
Yeah, so it's like I'm like not done. I'm like using toys and telling him, come here, come choke me. And he's like, no, like what is like he's not off shrooms. I'm off shrooms. And I'm like, so I'm like frustrated and I like leave out and like I came back with a woman and he's like, where the hell did you get her from? And again, very unique experience.
Mushrooms will put you online. You be like, hey, I want this. This is what I want.
Yeah, even if you can't say what it is, it'll be like
I want something.
You feel it and you want it.
I want stimulation.
And you'll have no problem. You'll call whoever
to get it.
Sometimes I'm not saying
like that, but
not like that, but it'll have you calling motherfuckers that's like, I ain't called you in a minute, but the space I'm in.
Yeah. Whether that's a conversation or even if it is just whatever that exchange needs to be.
Yeah. Because I mean, I'm not saying that, look, if you listening, you might grab shrooms and call your ex from 7 years ago and just cry.
Yeah. No, there's
that and
get closure.
I hate that for you, but
yeah.
But on the other side of that, I would say mushrooms made me love myself. I be horny for myself.
Right?
Is that a weird thing? Okay, it's not just me. Okay, because I feel like it puts you in a space where it's like I think because it makes you see yourself and I'm beautiful, right? And it's I don't know. It's almost like you see yourself as being beautiful and you want to share it. And then you start seeing how beautiful other people are. And it's like, I got to see myself in you. We're kind of the same person, but we're not the same person.
All these times I've really been fucking myself.
Basically,
It's a very interpersonal experience.
I be fucking the shit out of myself, y'all.
Hey.
Because like you said, there's that correlation where it's like you recognize people. Like all people that do mushrooms, like we have that issue where it's like, if we find out people are into mushrooms and they find one of us attractive, if they find us, if we're in a professional space, we have to draw that line,
right?
Because it's like we can't do. There's no orgies here.
Yeah,
we can't do this, right? Like we're holding space,
right?
And even though yes, we're into the same things, I think mushrooms do put you in that space where the lines get blurred.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that, and I'm glad you brought that up as well because I think oftentimes people think intimate experiences have to, like, intimacy and sexual intimacy are very different, right? Yeah. So when you're on shrooms and you're around people, you are in a very intimate space, and it's okay to appreciate that intimate spacing that you're in and connect with people without having to bump privates. Like that's okay too. Absolutely. I just so happen to be one to bump private, so don't come in my space if you ain't trying to.
You ain't ready to bump private.
You ain't trying to. But also I feel like when I'm off shrooms, I don't know, like I guess I line myself up very well because I don't never be around somebody that I wouldn't want to bump Travis with either.
That's about right.
So yeah,
I mean,
you have a very responsible.
You have a relationship with the mushroom. You know, kind of. Oh, it's coming. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When you take your dose or whatever, so it's like you want to put yourself in the space where you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, you know your right dosage. 6 to 8 hours. You know your right dosage. You know your intention. You got a clear intention. Mm-hmm. Your set and your setting is cool because you ready for it, and the people you're gonna be around is ready. Yep. To me, and I think to me that's what it's all about when it comes to me mushrooms and intimacy. Mm-hmm. All intimacy. It's just knowing what's the right formula for you.
Yes.
Right. Don't try to do what somebody else doing. It might sound good, but do what works for you. And then, like I said, just feel nothing. It's okay to feel nothing.
Facts.
You know, until you feel what you need to feel.
Mm-hmm. I'm not mad at that because it's been times where, like, I've taken shrooms and they didn't kick in for like 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, cool. It hit me when it needed to. The time I told y'all about the butt plug, so I took the shrooms, right? I was on a boat. So I was like out partying and stuff like that. Didn't kick in. I'm outside for like a while too. And then I gets home, I take a shower. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm cool. I gets out the shower. Boom. Hit me like that. And I'm like, I'm finna put a butt plug in. That's exactly how it went straight like that. Because I was like, God. This is the outfit I'm gonna wear. Shroom hit. Butt plug time. So I'm like, okay, I'm squatting, putting the butt plug in my asshole. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, he gonna be surprised by this. I'm like, as soon as I show him my booty hole, it's gonna be purple. I'm like, I'm gonna show this. I ain't gonna wear no panties. I got on a sundress. I got a purple butt plug in my asshole. I can't wait for him to find it. And it was so funny when he found it, right? Because like, all right, cool. We like dancing and stuff like that and whatever. And he like kind of like card swipe like my ass crack, right? So he go like this. He like, like. That's not like, you know,
that's
like.
That's not regular.
Yeah, like you go asshole and it's like that. But it's like.
What that is?
What's that it is?
Right. So then he like do like this, so I turn around. Because I'm like, you want to see.
That's how you excited, right?
Right,
you want to see it, don't you?
You want to see. so then I turn around, right? And then he like kind of like lift my dress up a little bit and he like, oh, you got a butt plug in? I was like, I do.
The gift that keeps giving. Anyone would be surprised by that. That's a good gift.
Yeah.
This video was beautiful.
I was like, are you surprised? And I'm a brat with a praise kink, so I like shit like that. I'm like, yes, am I being a good girl? I love this. Yes.
Oh shit.
So yeah, it be little shit like I was like, yeah, them shrooms, they be putting me in we finna do something different.
Yeah. Things definitely got less vanilla with us at the mushrooms got introduced.
Mm-hmm.
I think things definitely got a lot less vanilla.
And to your point, it definitely was like, hey, we ain't did that thing in a while. Can we let's go. And it was
what's
like
one of them things in a while?
I mean,
what's one of them things?
No, that's cool. Cause okay, that's fine, babe. I understand. You got that face on.
We you know the thing.
Yeah, I know the thing. So okay. So I don't think that they was really into anal that much before we really got into mushrooms.
I wasn't.
I think there was like
and then you like put it in my ass.
I had like some really weird experiences where it wasn't like pleasurable, but I'm like, to your point, I've had an experience by myself without shrooms, and it was like, now how do I get here with my partner? And we just happened to. It was one of our for a couple of sessions because we've done a couple of intentional nights of like we are finna tear it down. But it was all booty play and I loved it.
I love that for you
so much. It was so good.
Yeah.
So now every once in a while it's like, can you drop a load off back there for me?
Yeah. I love that. I love that for you because one time when I did anal or whatever, I was off shrooms and it felt so amazing. Like I'm doing everything that I would have did with my coochie. I was doing with my asshole. Like I'm riding, I'm bouncing, I'm like
turning around.
I'm like, I can't believe this is really in my butthole. Yeah. And even his reaction to me, he like, these bitches can't do me like you. I'm like, I know.
I was like, that's about right. This is what I'm looking for. This is what the fuck I'm looking
uninhibited.
for.
It's unrestricted. I'm not thinking about it in my mind. I'm literally just feeling it, and it feels good, and I'm going with it, and it's just, it's great.
I mean, even as the guy, to not have that intrusive thought of there's gonna be shit on my dick. Is there gonna be shit on my dick? Is she gonna shit on me right now? Right? Because I think as men, anybody who's ever tried that,
that's a reality.
It's like that's a reality. At least one person has shat on you.
Shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
And I was just, I think there's I think sexual experiences come with certain levels of trauma, depending on when you do it,
when, where, all these things,
and who you do it with,
and
trying to like I was saying, stay out of your own head.
Yes,
and I think that's the key to experience actually not being trauma, right? Because you could experience something where it's like, yo, if I was in a different mind state, I probably would have been freaked out by this. But actually, I feel so safe and comfortable in this space, and I don't feel judged that, yes, I really did just shit on you. My bad. Shit happens, literally.
No pun intended. Pun intended. You can wash it off. It's cool,
right? No, literally, and that can be an experience. Like let's cleanse, let's
But and that's a totally different thing than like somebody like, all right, I'm finna squat over you in dookie. Like, but if you in a scat play, we don't.
I'm not shaming. We're not shaming.
Yeah, ain't no judgment here. Not a lick.
Yeah, I mean, things in public and just being like.
Nice.
I think all of the things that you typically be like, I don't think we can do that here. It's like,
or the things that I would literally be like, somebody gonna see us.
It's like, so the fuck
I don't give a fuck.
Nice. Yeah. And I think for me, because I don't have a lot of things that I wouldn't do sober.
No, I get that.
It be a lot of like, it really is a lot of stuff that I'm like, and that's why I tell people like, if I do it off shrooms, I would have probably did that shit anyways.
Already.
I probably just did it quicker. Or I'm like, I didn't think twice about it. Versus like, I might think twice about it and still do it. Yeah. But it was not a second thought at all. It was like, boom, boom. Like, I barely thought about it. I just do off shrooms, right?
Yeah.
And so, because I'm an exhibitionist. I don't mind being seen. I don't like, so that's why I'm like, look, I was at a play party. Like, of course I know why I'm here. Like, I don't
We're
care.
all here for the same thing. Why the fuck you don't judge me? Fuck
actually,
you.
I want you guys to see. Like, I don't mind that, right? But everybody isn't like that. They have some kind of like shyness to them, or like some kind of like show. Like, I feel like
it's a shame.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of shame.
Yeah.
Coming from your different backgrounds, like you was talking earlier, parents, your organizations that you grew up with, the things that you hear in the back of your mind.
And you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm something wrong with me because I want to engage in this type of thing.
Exactly. And you don't, if not that going against the norm, or, I want to step outside this box and I don't care if you people judge me for it. Like, some people have a problem with that.
I think, and this was one of the questions, and I think you're gonna say yes, but the question was, do you think psychedelics can help people overcome shame? Well, it's like yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, especially when we start talking, and I'm not advocating for this. Please consume responsibly. But multiple psychedelics, like hippie flips, Jedi flips. If for people that don't know what that is, like mixing your mushrooms with a microdose of like Molly, like mixing mushrooms and Molly together. Add a little acid to that.
Whoo, chef's kiss, baby. Baby.
When I say,
so I've done shrooms and X at the same time.
Okay.
About this, yeah.
I got pregnant though, so that was
sounds about right. Sounds about right.
But also, I was like, I know exactly
when, where, how,
why that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I was when I missed my first period, I was like,
that time, because that energy be there, like it just be so free flowing. I think the mushrooms really put you in touch with yourself. The Molly puts you in touch with other people. And having that, to me, like having that duality of being able to like see the beauty in you, see the beauty in them, be self-conscious enough to know like, yo, I actually want this motherfucker. Like, I'm going to fuck the shit out of him. This is what's happening. And like, it's almost like it puts you in this very like, I would call like this like pure, like almost like God state where it'd be like, whatever I think is going to fucking happen.
It's happening.
I feel it. I kind of like he was like, I thought it, I did it. yeah, man, it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, I also think that psychedelics actually, like it can also be the key to that kind of deeper intimacy that people might be looking to explore as well, right? And of course, while on the one, I said earlier, intimacy and sexual intimacy are not the same.
Agreed.
Right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're looking for just intimacy. Other times we're looking for sexual intimacy, but we're not getting the sexual intimacy. We just getting sex. Absolutely. Right? And so it's like you got intimacy, you got sexual intimacy, and then you got sex. Yep. And so we getting the sex without the intimacy. We getting the intimacy, but not the sex. Right? And I definitely think that, when you begin to be in touch with your own self, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're able to identify that intimacy quicker and easier.
Yeah, even articulate what that is for you.
That's what I was gonna say. You're able to put words to it. Like sometimes it's not yes, touch me, but maybe it's here specifically this way.
Right. It's a difference between touch me,
right,
versus caress, touch me,
touch me here, touch me like this, touch me like that. I think we kind of got away from that. I remember being a shorty. There was a lot more communication between myself and the partner. Right, do this, do that, not quite that. Do that, and I think that's kind of odd. I'm not sure if.
Because adults do it, and people, then you think about what somebody asked you to do or didn't do, and it's like, do I want to? Am I comfortable with that? Do I really? And if you doing all that in your head, but you're not actually able to verbalize that to your partner, and if you don't have that safe space with your partner outside of psychedelics, it's difficult.
I think when people oftentimes get in their head about overthinking the question, though, that's because something happened to make them overthink, right? Because if you don't ever get in a space that limited your sexual expression, you won't begin to get in your head, right? Absolutely. So if you always experience partners that were listening and, paying attention to your body, and you've also been doing that, you won't. There was never a reason for you to get in your head until you come into someone that is probably not comfortable with themselves,
receptive to that, and then they put that off on you.
And now you take that into some other shit, and now you know
now it's in your bag.
Exactly, because trauma just trauma is a block, right? Yeah. And so psychedelic trying to remove that block.
It takes the bow off unless you see what's in that box.
It literally,
and this shows you the why you like this. Yeah. And I think I was going to actually ask, do you think we stopped learning? Because I feel like the mushrooms put us in a space where we're open and receptive to learning new things. We started noticing things that we've never noticed before. It's been in it for years, and I never noticed that. And I wonder if sometimes sexually, you get to a certain age and everybody just kind of assume you know what the fuck you're doing. We don't need to talk about this.
And that's such a terrible assumption, because our bodies change.
Agreed.
Our bodies change. What we find pleasurable changes, and it changes continuously, right? The human body is so fascinating in the sense that it actually repairs and rejuvenates itself, right? Yeah. So your skin is literally not the same. We're shedding dead skin and we're growing new skin. It's not like you see it all the time. But the thing, you might have developed intolerances to different foods, or you may have found different forms of touch pleasurable in one point of your life, and then now you absolutely hate it, or vice versa. Right. I'm someone that used to not care for nipple stimulation whatsoever at all. I thought it was the dumbest thing that you could be doing to me. You are wasting your mouth time. You could be using your mouth somewhere else, because this does nothing for me. Right. But fast forward to, I want to say, the last 3 years, I'm actually, I like it now. I have a different body now. And you have to continue to be open to learning your body in that moment, right? I think oftentimes people are like, oh, well, I know myself. It's you
knew.
That's the thing about
you knew a certain version.
I think to your point about learning, right? The thing about psychedelics, what it actually does in your brain, it kind of puts those what used to fit in the box and make it shape for something else, and it makes it okay, right? Those receptors and things like that. So literally, it's opening it up. Do something else. It's okay. It's so okay. So
for sure. Okay, let's
pause. His camera that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna get into the safety part. He's gonna get to the safety part.
Safety. Yes. Measure your mushrooms and use condoms. That's pretty much all.
If you don't want to have a baby.
if you don't want to have a baby. Yeah. I mean, there are other ways around that, but you know, with the current administration, you might want to be careful with how many times you get pregnant. Use your Plan B passes sparingly.
Funny as hell.
Shit, I heard they was trying to cut Department of Education funding, and I'm like, so you gonna make more dumb fucks? Okay, cool.
Let's not get political, child.
We won't. We won't. I'm talking about kids. I start thinking, oh my god.
Hey, so let's get into some safety and ethical use of psychedelics, right? What precautions should people take when it comes to using psychedelics in a sexual context to ensure like safety and consent?
So I say consent is the main ingredient.
Yeah, consent, absolutely.
Just because we high don't mean
everything okay.
Just because someone's in a vulnerable space, mushrooms put people in a very, very vulnerable space. And I think it's very important for the person partaking, whether the two people are taking it, whatever the situation is, right? Even if you just holding space and you sober, if y'all both high, whatever, just because you feel it don't mean you have to do it. You're not always gonna feel like that, right? I try to tell people, especially with integration, how you feel on the mushrooms isn't what's important. It's actually how you feel after and how you integrate that experience into your life moving forward. Try not to make decisions that you're going to regret later on just because it's felt like the right thing to do or just because you could do it. I think we've had many opportunities when we were trip sitting, right, to fuck clients, right? And I think there's an intention there, a clear intention before we even go in that
we have to.
This is not happening. This is the line, right? I don't give a fuck how I feel.
Right.
I don't give a fuck how much I take. This is the hard no.
Right.
And staying grounded, like your boundaries, whether you're high or not. The same thing with alcohol, any other substance.
I agree.
People need to understand their power and understand that consent is consent, period. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can say no. If something doesn't feel good, don't. If something felt good but then stops feeling good, stop.
Be okay with that.
Be okay with how it evolves.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, wait, setting.
I mean, so I would kind of think about it in like a trip sitting session. Like we would have this discussion beforehand. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I want to take mushrooms. Or have you done this before? What's your okay dosage? Let's talk about that or whatever, so we can both know we kind of on the same page in that aspect. Where we gonna do this at? You know, is it outside? Is it at a hotel? Is it a familiar space? Is it not a familiar space? Yeah. You know, what we gonna do to prepare throughout the day? You know what I'm saying? We doing yoga class today.
Yeah,
is
the kids gonna
the kids gonna be gone all weekend? You know what I'm saying? Can we really? What's the true time and space? Because all of that really matters.
Right.
Have a safe word. You know, I remember us having a safe word, and especially when we did.
I mean, on mushrooms, you need
the multiple psychedelic experience, and because that was our first.
I feel like sex. Period. You should really have a sex word.
You should.
I mean, safe word, not sex word.
I mean, but for vanilla people that don't venture into the unknown, there's no danger.
It don't matter, right?
You know, so. Yeah, I think
and even though we've had that idea before, to your point, like, and we may have did it with other people's, this is this instance that we're creating right here. You know, have it. Just be mindful, but also leave room for what happens.
Yeah, you know? I definitely agree with that. I've been in situations before where I have said specifically that, and I've said it sober, like, I wouldn't fuck this person. Right. And I said before, like, I don't care how much I take, I'm still very conscious of how I move and what I got going on. Then I took shrooms and I'm in a spacing and this person offered to eat my ass and I agreed to the ass eating. Did agree to the ass eating. All right. I did not turn that down. But I did not want anything more than the ass eating. I agreed to the ass eating. Nothing else is going to take place beyond said ass eating. And so
you know who you are.
Yeah, so I was cool. Like that's it,
like,
right?
This person, but they can
even like not even like I'm cool with even pussy. Like you said, can I eat your ass? I said yes. The ass. Like no, I genuinely don't want anything else. Yeah. I don't want to kiss you. Yeah. I don't want none of that. Just tongue in ass.
If that's what you want to do, yeah.
That was my boundary. But and then it's like, okay, cool. Even though I'm high now, that didn't change. I mean, what I said.
Oh, no.
I'm still very well aware of what I said.
Yeah, mushrooms don't put you in a space where you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And but there's been a couple people that, they might try and that like, well, I don't remember.
I was about to say, I have like kind of like some shit has kind of been like
spotty.
Yeah, where I'm like, wait, damn, that's really how that happened? Because I had this guy I share my coochie with every now and then. He was like, this is what you did. And I was like, did I? Not even did I. I was like, I could see myself doing that. I don't think, it's not like I think he's fabricating anything. Like, I think if you said I did that shit, and I vaguely, because I'm like, I was.
I feel you. Because I do be in a moment.
And I be crossfaded too. Like, I'm like,
I'll give you that.
I was smoking weed. I had shots and I did shrooms. I'm like, you right.
Yeah, there do be some blur. Because I'm like, when your mushrooms make you so present that you might do one or two things that you don't quite remember. Mm-hmm. But I would say like big things, right? Like, you're not going to fuck anybody
I'm
and not
remember that I fucked you.
I
might not remember that I like did something in particular in the middle of fucking you.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, but like I might forget that I flirted with you or that I was being nice, but there's certain things that I'm just not going. It's just passive. It's just I saw you. You were in my path, and I just so happened to be under the influence.
That was the interaction, and then
you got my honest response in that moment.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But there, it didn't go further than that. And that's all I'm saying. Like, just take control, right? Like, do your research.
Yep.
There's so much free information out here about mushrooms, about how it affects people's bodies.
Yeah. The other thing I would just offer is, if you can, know your source, know what you're taking. You know,
for sure.
Methods of consumption matter, whether that's a chocolate or a capsule, or if you're eating the actual fruit. So again, that's along with building a relationship with the mushroom. Some people like chocolates because they know they're finna go out, versus they doing a more sacramental thing and they taking a dosage that's higher. They want the actual fruit, So there's differences in that. But again, do your research, build the relationship that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And be open and honest with yourself.
Okay. Are there any misconceptions about combining psychedelics and sexual exploration?
Yeah, like you're gonna be out of your fucking mind. Like you just you just balls to the wall, lost or whatever. And like we was just saying, like you don't lose complete control. You're very aware.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about dosage though, right? Like, cause I think depending on the psychedelic, and depending on the dosage, right? I think
because you did briefly mention a couple different mushrooms. So like, let's kind of get into that. Like, are there any mushrooms that make you exceptionally horny?
Oh man, I would say Shakti, Burma, Jack Frost.
Hold on, let me take some notes.
I'll see you in a minute too. But I find that like a leucistic golden teacher, I find that varieties that aren't very body heavy.
Yes, they're like almost thick. They're thinner.
They just have a certain spirit to them that makes me very happy. Mm-hmm. I think some mushrooms, I'm not going to say they're darker, but they just come with a heavier, almost indica experience, where it's like, I'm in it. I want to wrap up in a blanket.
When I smoke weed, sometimes there's certain weed strains that make me real horny. Mm-hmm. And then there's other ones where I'm like, no, I just want to go to sleep. I'm straight.
Basically. I would say, I try to compare mushrooms to that. Like, there's a lot of different mushrooms, but just to not overcomplicate it, think of them as indica or sativas, right? Some of them, like Burma, for instance, giddy, right? I seem to have very like happy, childlike vibes, right? Like it just puts
like
me
you want to
very,
skip.
That's the frolic. That's a frolic variety, right? Oh yeah. If I want to do shadow work, maybe I'm looking at a PE.
Yep.
Jack Frost in higher quantities, Enigma, Blank Man, even like there's a few that if I want to drag myself a little bit and get out of my own way,
it'll help you.
Yeah, it'll definitely drop me off at the doorstep.
Nice.
What else? You can't think of any others?
Shakti is one of my favorites because it's right middle ground for me. Like I can still be creative or light depending on the dosage, but if I take it in heavier dosages, it's good for a good trip, good sacramental journey. So yeah, it's a good middle of the ground for me.
Yeah, I would say so.
But again, develop a relationship. If you know your source, you know where you're getting it from.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with trying a gram of each.
Yeah, I mean, because you could get it with you could get it with a PE if you play around with it. Like if the dosage is in line with the intention.
Yeah.
And you got your settings straight, you could technically get it from anything. Just again, you need to have a consistent supplier. Take the consistent thing and then do the experiment so you figure out how much PE do I need to want some PE. You know what I'm saying? You know.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm trying to think what else. Absorbing it, right? Putting yourself in environments. Kind of picked that up from Key yesterday, which is very true. If you want to get intimate, digest intimate things on mushrooms by yourself.
Yes.
Right? Like you don't actually have to do it with anybody. Digest the porn that you would normally watch on the mushrooms. See how you see it. Right? Watch something else under the influence and see how you see it.
Or even just have the channel available to see where it leads you, because you might not pick your typical choice. You know, and you might not go for what you typically go for.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just.
That was a good point. Like surround yourself with what you actually want to see in your trip, and then make that a part of your attention.
Right. It's mind revealing. Right. So whatever you kind of insert is most likely the thing that you see.
Yeah.
You got to play party. Yeah. It's probably. Yeah, we're in line. I see it. I feel it. I'm here. I'm in it. And it's you get all the stimuli you need because you're actually tapped into the environment.
Yeah.
Because mushrooms make you one with the environment that you're in. So when your intention is to actually connect.
Yep. It makes it a lot easier.
It really does.
You just got to stay out of your own way. There have been instances where we've been out and it's like I'm like jittery and it's like. He's like, okay, go do something. Like you obviously, there's a physical thing happening.
Right. Your body is communicating with you. Listen to it.
Listen to it.
Do it. Like,
and mushrooms they will do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I've ever kind of gotten like irritated with someone off mushrooms. I don't think so.
That only happens to me on Molly.
I would say it's difficult on mushrooms because even for me, like I've had conversations with people that I don't want to do this shit while I'm, at top of my day or whatever, but it just makes whatever I have to say come out real easy. And I'm less worried about how
it's perceived
or what you thinking about me while I'm saying it. It's more about I need to communicate clearly and effectively.
Yeah.
And honestly.
And
just honest. That shit happens to me a lot on mushrooms. Like people call and it's just, this is what I got.
Yeah.
Sure. No fluff, no bullshit. And it's kind of cool actually, because I feel like when people catch you in that space, they actually respect it more than what you normally bring to the table. It almost feels like a relief to everybody. Which I think is cool.
Yeah. Do you guys think that the growing acceptance of, mushrooms and different psychedelics will also kind of change the conversations around sex? Because they're, like what we've kind of consistently talked about throughout this episode is how psychedelics can open you up and allow you to kind of live in your truth and be this, free person, especially as it relates to sex, right? Yeah. So I know what I think, but what do you guys think?
I think it will, if nothing else, you'll notice those changes maybe outside of the bedroom and be okay with implementing that freeness or being okay with your own vulnerability like we were talking about earlier in the bedroom, right. And even with your partner or even with yourself. I think it's just about pushing your own boundaries a little bit, but also just being comfortable, and then just communicating effectively. I always recommend people, if they have an experience or you're planning to have an experience, have a journal, document how much you took, what happened, what your plans were, and what your intention was, and then what actually happened. And then reflect on that. That's what Royce mentioned earlier about the integration after, is what you do afterwards. Right. And that's the afterglow, right? What you do with that can kind of lead the path or straighten the path or put you on a different path to, before you took the psychedelics.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I think from a social aspect, I definitely see mushrooms. I think we've already kind of seen the insurgence of mushrooms being more socially accepted. There's plenty of shows, right, that are using mushrooms as an influence, right? I think they're being portrayed in a certain way, right? I think they're still being portrayed in like this drug kind of way, like this mysterious, elusive. It affects you, but no one really knows how it does it.
Right.
And like, yeah, they are mysterious, but I do think I think I've seen a couple movies where, you know, they've taken mushrooms and had intimate experiences, and I wouldn't mind actually seeing that being portrayed in media more, right?
Yeah.
The more positive aspects of psychedelics and intimacy.
Yeah.
How to use them responsibly.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times, like say, most of the things you see is like, oh yeah, we're gonna get drunk and we're gonna fuck, right? Like when most of the times most people can't fuck when they're drunk. So it's kind of like,
right.
I would like to see, as it becomes more accepted, I would like to see the presentation of it be more in line with the reality.
Yeah. And I think it might be coming. We might not see it tomorrow, but I think we are headed in that direction. Somebody recently showed it's funny. It was actually Kevin on stage. He recently showed a clip from Saved by the Bell when Jesse was addicted to pills. They was caffeine pills, y'all.
Caffeine
I remember
pills.
that episode.
They were caffeine. She was addicted to coffee.
Which is a thing.
Which is a thing, but coffee, bro, like they had her acting like a crackhead. She was, I need the pills.
Like
I need the pills. Like,
Right. Did they call it speed, or did they say something else?
I don't know what they called it, but it was
That's what it
coffee
was.
pills. I was like, they funny as hell.
They
Trying to
fucking
scare us off all drugs. Now look at us.
They really did. Now we taking all the drugs.
Look, y'all, you look on Netflix between the documentaries about mushrooms and then the movies. I forgot the name of that movie.
Guys, there are movies and documentaries on mushrooms.
It was a retreat. It was a wellness retreat, and the lady was dosing them with psilocybin in their smoothies, and it was like,
without their consent.
I didn't know.
Well,
what
don't
do
we
First of
not
all,
do that.
Not
Don't
okay
do
with
that.
that.
Right.
She had good results, but it was without their consent.
Yeah.
So
So it's a slippery slope on that shit.
to the point of in my wellness work and stuff like that, that's something that I would want to facilitate. And with legalities and all that aside or whatever, something like that, facilitating it in real life, actually being a facilitator of folks deciding and giving consent on having these journeys or whatever, right? In safe space. And then if that so happens to be with a partner or be with yourself, where you again into that intimacy in that moment with yourself and you okay with that, that's something that I would like to see in reality. Yeah. But of course with consent and they stylize everything on the movies and make it look real good.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
It be real work. It's real work out here.
Yeah, no. Psychedelic work is real. To circle back to that, people should definitely prepare for that aspect of it. Like it's okay to be tired. It's okay to be even a little bit like confused afterward. It really does open you up to different perspectives. And seeing the world in a new way, even though it's refreshing, a lot of times it can be kind of jarring. People fuck around and divorce partners, right? After
Quit
taking
their jobs,
mushrooms, quit jobs, and they make these really big life shifts, which I'm not saying aren't valid, but there are some people that regret the decision making such big jumps due to the influence of. Like I said, they can really there's a reason why these things are illegal, right? Like they really can open you up to new ideas and make you question your current reality. Essentially it can kind of unplug you from the matrix, so to speak, and once you've unplugged, it's kind of hard to see things the same way. So if anything, I would caution people to just be careful with how often you hit that reset. Because reality can get kind of hard when you're not dealing with it on its own terms. I think mushrooms allows you to step away from it for a second. There's a reality to it, right? Because that's how the world works for real, because you're in it. But when you're not under the influence, I don't know, it's weird. It's almost like you have to deal with what's actually in front of you, the way people expect you to deal with it. It's weird. It's really weird. It almost feels like you're in an alternate reality that's overlapping on the one that you already live in. And once you're off mushrooms, it's like, you have to deal with it like this. It's but always knowing that at any time I could deal with it the way I did when I was on the mushroom.
Because nothing is stopping you. Like, you've experienced that now. So you have that.
It's there.
The tool is in your bag.
Exactly.
You know,
what are you going to do with it?
But just recognizing that, you know, when you're under the influence, you're most likely in a space that's conducive to the experience. Right. Once you step outside of that bubble that you created for yourself, who you have to deal with.
Right.
I mean, I remember that time we went to the promontory. I was high as shit, right? And like, I just remember catching this vibe from these two cats. It was just like, all right, I'm high. They don't understand that I'm high. And either I'm about to get my ass whooped. I just need to go, right? Because the way you're perceived when you're a certain way, sometimes people don't know anything else other than violence. They just feel like,
Facts.
you know, oh, I don't understand it. You on some bullshit, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to fuck you up, take your shit, whatever. Just fuck you up just because they felt like you were disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's just, the world outside of psychedelics is what it is, and it was what it will always be. And I just don't want people to get that. I don't want them to get the two realities mixed up,
right?
Too much,
for sure.
Yeah, it can kind of send you into a depression if you're not careful. Feeling great, you know, on this thing, and then you start taking mushrooms all the time, expecting to feel that great all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
You try to build a codependency on the mushroom, and that's not the way mushrooms work.
Right.
Yeah. It's not a pharmaceutical. It is not made to give you a consistent feeling or reaction. Like, it's there to give you what you need. And you know, like I said, I just don't want it to. I want us to look at it more like sacrament and less like a drug.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
You know.
A lot of people have historically used mushrooms for rituals and spirituality. And so I think that's super important. I personally think sex is a ritual. It is very spiritual. That is why I love shroom sex. But I also don't have to have shroom sex all of the time for me to appreciate and love shroom sex. Absolutely. Because I also believe in the law of diminishing return, which means that every time you do something over and over again, your return will diminish. So you will not be as satisfied with this experience every single time because you're doing it too frequent. Like, now it's mundane, now it's normalized. Like, and in order for you to truly appreciate something and love it, it has to kind of not be the exact same thing over and over again. Like, I don't be like, oh my God, I love water so much every time I drink water.
right.
Even though I do love a good water.
Or you always have to dose yourself up. You mess around, you know, be taking 20 or 30 grams. And that's, you know, outside of the experience that you may or may not be looking for.
Exactly.
You know, because your tolerance is this and that. And we talk about that in our education classes, like their schedules. You know, people microdose, you know, 4 days on, 3 days off. It's to create some balance.
Nice.
Because again, utilizing it, right? You integrate the experience. If you horny when you're on mushrooms and you like that experience and you like tapping into your sexuality from a unedited kind of perspective, right? Like, if you want to tap into that freeness, then that's very doable.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be on the mushrooms. And I think that's the thing. Like, sometimes people feel like they have to be on the mushroom to do it, and you don't. Like, as soon as you unlock it with the mushroom, it's there.
Yeah.
And just and be okay with not doing. We don't have to do mushrooms to do butt stuff.
Nope, we don't.
It's there now. Now it's like, hey, remember that thing? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, cool. That's. Don't abuse it. Don't abuse the sacrament. Like, appreciate it.
And I think that may be more in line with making your intention clear, right? Because the intention is, I want to be more comfortable with my partner, regardless of whatever we're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether I'm standing there naked and feeling fat, you know, or whatever. You know, it's more about the intention and how what my goal is.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I think making that clear, especially to yourself, being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys. I hope that you took a lot away from this very rich conversation. I also hope that whether you choose to engage in psychedelics or not, I hope that you can still take the learnings and the takeaways away from the benefits of what someone can experience on psychedelics, right? Yeah. So even if it means that you know, like, let's say you say, no, Jody, I don't want to eat no fucking mushrooms. That's cool, right? But what are some ways that you can begin to train your body to be more mindful and present within itself, right? What are some ways that you can begin to explore in a way that's comfortable for you, your sexuality, right? Again, the shrooms is going to open up whatever is already there to begin with and force you to face it. But it's nothing wrong with baby steps, and there's nothing wrong with doing that shit sober. So, like I said, I like shroom sex though. Actually, I'll probably be having shroom sex real soon.
No. 10 out of 10. You know, if I'm gonna rate it, shroom sex 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
you know,
it's fire.
Don't play yourself. I'm not. Don't not do it. Just do it. Do it responsibly.
Yes.
So you can really tap in, because I feel like it's something everybody should have at least one time.
At least one.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, if it's not a hard no, like if you're not allergic to mushrooms, and it's not like a hard no on psychedelics.
Yeah.
Just one time with somebody that you really, really, really like.
Yeah.
That's on the same page and willing to do that shit with you.
Y'all gonna get so nasty. Y'all gonna get nastier than a jelly bean
and it's
pie.
gonna feel so good.
A black jelly bean and licorice pie. It's gonna be real nasty with peanut butter in there.
It takes a lot of willpower to stop an orgy when people are on mushrooms. It just takes a lot.
I said, you know what? So when I was it was this one time, right? Now I didn't have an orgy, but I know I could have had an orgy because I was like, I could fuck like 15 people right now. Probably not literally, but I welcomed that bodily stimulation. So honestly, even if it didn't mean like me actually fucking 15 people, but if like 5 people were all touching me at the same time while I was getting fucked by one person,
that would
and I may have had like an ass in my face or something like that. So that's up to 7. All right, 7 people. I could fuck 7 people.
That's half.
Now. Yeah, I could do that.
You at least get half. Yeah, half
like
15.
I got somebody like
that's what I'm saying.
Rubbing on my kneecaps and somebody licking under my arm.
Every hand gonna feel like 2. So
yeah. So you know what?
Yeah.
So I really do only need like 7 people. That's 14 hands.
So just know this is peer pressure, y'all. Everybody here says you should do it. I'm not gonna say it's not. This is a do it. Do it. And if you're not doing it, what are you waiting for? Call Danielle. Get your trip season session. Ask some questions.
Yes.
Hit us up on the Mooonchild website.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Like, make sure y'all tell the people how they can find y'all, connect with y'all,
Absolutely.
Get into.
Oh man, we one of Jody's friends, so you can just look on her friends list and you'll find us.
In there.
All right.
Mooonchild Infusions with 3 O's.
It's 3 O's. Mooonchild Infusions. Mooonchild_infusions on Instagram. Moonchildinfusions.com.
On our website.
On the website.
A lot of harm reduction, education information there. So easy to get to.
I also make sure I put it in the description of all of the platforms. So if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, wherever you are listening, I'll make sure that you guys can tap in. Do you guys ship?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Because my audience is every fucking where. It's some freaky ass people that listen to me like in Philly and shit like that. They might want some shrooms.
Oh man, I love Philly.
Yeah, never had a problem. Let's do it.
Never had a problem. I mean, even though I just admitted to, whatever, but you're not gonna talk.
We're
in
safe space.
We're safe space.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll make sure that you guys. I know good people. I connect y'all with good people.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
y'all,
that's
man. Appreciate you. This is dope.
Yes, this was cool. That's really all we have for this episode. By the time this episode drops, the Her Nut Matters live show would have happened already. And oh my God, it was so amazing. I can't believe you guys missed it.
You should have been there. We were all there.
We were there. We were there.
Where were you?
I'm high on mushrooms.
Hello. I know what safe space I'm going to be in. Okay.
Guys, I had
an orgy. Let's do it.
No, but for real. As always, thank y'all for trusting me on your pleasure advocacy journey. I want to continue to help you guys change and shift those limiting beliefs to liberating beliefs. And so, right on. One nut at a time. See y'all later.
Sometimes two.
I see y'all.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Her None Matters. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share the pleasure with others. Follow us on Instagram at Her None Matters to stay updated on everything we have going on. Remember, pleasure is power. Go out there and own yours. Catch you next time.